In the days when Israel was oppressed, when the Midianites and Amalekites swarmed the land like locusts, God raised up a deliverer, a man named Gideon, a man who saw himself as weak, yet whom the Lord called mighty. The Midianites had come in numbers beyond counting, 135,000 strong, taking the land's harvest, leaving Israel starving and afraid. But the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon and said,
"The Lord is with you, mighty warrior.
Gideon doubted, yet God assured him,
Go in the strength you have, and I will deliver Midian into your hands."
Gideon gathered an army of 32,000 men, but the Lord spoke,
You have too many men. If I deliver Midian into their hands, Israel might boast that their own strength saved them.
So God commanded Gideon to send home those who were fearful, and 22,000 departed. Still, the Lord said,
There are still too many.
At the river, God tested them, and only those who lapped the water like dogs were chosen. 300 remained. With only 300 warriors, Gideon faced the vast Midianite army. But God had a plan. That night, the Lord instructed Gideon,
Take your servant and go down to the enemy camp, and you will hear something that will strengthen your hands.
And when Gideon went, he heard a man telling his comrade a dream.
I saw a loaf of barley bread tumbling into our camp. It struck a tent, overturning it.
His companion replied,
This is none other than the sword of Gideon. God has given Midian into his hands.
With faith renewed, Gideon returned to his men. He divided them into 3 companies, each armed not with swords but with trumpets, empty jars, and torches inside. Gideon commanded,
When I give the signal, do as I do. Blow your trumpets, break your jars, and cry out for the Lord and for Gideon.
In the dead of night, the 300 surrounded the enemy's camp. At Gideon's command, they shattered their jars, raised their torches high, blew their trumpets, and shouted with all their might. A great terror fell upon the Midianites. Confusion spread like wildfire. In the darkness, the enemy turned on each other, their swords cutting down their own men. Fear and chaos overtook them, and they fled. The mighty army of 135,000 was undone, not by strength nor by numbers, but by the power of God. Israel was delivered, and the name of the Lord was exalted. For the victory belonged not to Gideon nor his 300, but to the Lord Almighty, who uses the weak to confound the strong.